This video is your final warning. We're in $31.6 trillion in debt here in the United States, and now we're sitting at a whopping 120% debt to GDP, which means that we dramatically consume more than we produce as a country, which is a very bad sign. And now you may be asking, well, we're just in a weird time. We just had a pandemic, right? Things are going to turn around. Well, I don't know. Look at this exponential growth that we've been having in government debt here in the United States. It has been ridiculous growth since early 2000. And I don't see this heading right back down like a meme coin would. All right. And if you don't believe me, let's not listen to me. Let's actually listen to the decision makers that are forming the budgets, and let's hear what the best case scenario is directly from the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen.
You talked about reducing deficit. Isn't it a fact that under President Biden's proposed budget, that gross debt will rise from $32.7 trillion at the close of this year to $51 trillion by 2033?
Will debt held by the public, which is...
No, ma'am, that's gross debt. Isn't that a fact?
That's probably a fact.
So you haven't reduced the deficit, have you?
So if you just heard in the video, they're going to be raising the U.S. debt to $33 trillion by the end of 2023, and this number will be over $50 trillion, which will be up another 33% over the next decade, which is absolutely absurd. I can't even imagine what our debt to GDP is going to be by then. And how do they continually just keep raising this debt ceiling? If you hear like every 6 months they're talking about, we're reaching the debt ceiling. Now what do we do? What do? They just continually raise it. Well, how do they keep raising? They just keep printing more and more money. They're making the debt less expensive by printing more money because it debases the currency. And meanwhile, it increases the money supply. So there's more money sloshing around. Now, there's a big problem because, again, that debases the currency. That means that the currency that you work really hard for, the US dollars and other fiat currencies, because other nations are very similar because none of the fiat currencies are really pegged to any commodities or anything that's in fixed supply anymore. That makes the money that you work really hard for less valuable. It can buy less goods, services, and assets. So this is why the wealthy get wealthier and the poor and middle class get poorer, because the wealthy keep putting their money into assets that appreciate faster than the rate of our currency being debased. And that is why this wealth gap is going to grow to really, really scary levels. And I can tell you that I think that honestly the solution and potentially the only solution, especially short term over the next couple of years into maybe 5-10 years, I do think that precious metals like gold are going to dramatically outperform, even equities and pretty much any other asset class. Then also we're about to see the massive use case of Bitcoin and crypto play out here in 2023 into 2024, and especially 2025 when likely the cycle repeats. I do believe that crypto is going to see a massive explosion with its main use case being the reduced amount of risk from counterparty risk, being able to hold your own keys, you get to hold your own asset in your own self-storage, which is massive for assets, because a lot of assets you can't just hold yourself. You got to hold with a broker, you got to hold with a bank. And if those banks or brokers go under, then who knows what exactly happens to your asset and ultimately to your wealth. And then also the fact that there's a fixed supply, there's a fixed schedule of Bitcoin that is produced every single day. And we know that exact schedule over time. And we can somewhat predict that as gold, but not nearly as well as Bitcoin. We know for a fact how much Bitcoin is produced every single day, regardless of how many miners there are mining for Bitcoin. Now, if there's more gold miners, right, or we discover a planet with trillions of dollars of gold, there could be a lot more gold than there is expected. But again, still, the whole basis of investing is, especially now, because this is somewhat new over the last 50 years, because we've been in a 50-year experiment since coming off the gold standard, is now taking the value that you work really hard for, right, that is paid in fiat currencies, that has an infinite supply. Okay. And taking that infinite supply value and moving it into things that have a finite supply, or at least a fixed supply and a schedule over time, because then you can predict that that asset, as long as demand stays relatively the same and or goes up, you're much more likely to hold the value that you're working hard for in assets that don't have infinite supplies like fiat currencies. And that is what wealthy people understand. They understand, let me work really hard and create a bunch of value to get paid in value, but it's paid in fiat currency. Let me take that fiat currency and put that into something that has a finite fixed supply, or a supply that is going down over time, especially relative to the demand. So you want demand that exceeds supply for that price of the asset to go up. And that is what the wealthy understand. And that is why this wealth gap is going to get massive. So I can tell you, pretty much I do think that this is the kind of the final warning here, guys. And I hope to continually say this over the next couple of years, because I do not think it's going to get better. In fact, again, if you keep seeing this graph, you're not, do you really think that this is just going to magically turn around? No, it's going to keep getting worse, because especially in the United States, like a lot of our government officials are incentivized to perform over 2 and 4 year time periods. So what are they going to do? They're going to stimulate the economy the best they can to make it seem like everything's really great. And how are they going to do that? They're going to keep printing more and more money. And then all of a sudden you're going to get to a point where no one trusts the currencies anymore, and no one trusts, the US and other countries to actually maintain responsible monetary policy. And you're going to see the wealthy keep funneling their money into assets, and you're going to see everyone else that doesn't get educated be really confused. You're going to see this wealth cap continue to grow, and you're going to see the top, 5, 3, 1% of people do extremely well, which can be you if you decide to get educated and actually take action. And then you're going to see that, unfortunately, the rest of the people get really hurt, which is not going to be fun to watch. So I hope you're on the right side of it. I hope you educate yourself, and I hope you take educated moves in the right direction. None of this is financial advice. I'm just letting you know what I am doing. I'm funneling money into precious metals and into crypto, because I do think that is the absolute best way to bet on the pretty much only guarantee that we have in this world now, which is the debasement of fiat currencies. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you here on this next video.